This is really important as well. Remember, dehumanization of your enemies is a double-edged sword, because even though it can be politically efficacious in terms of getting people to behave with a desired level of cruelty or derision, it also carries the risk of A, denying you an understanding of them, and B, denying you the ability to recognize the warning signs of people acting more like that, you know? Of course, you know, here I am rambling nonstop about Republicans being evil and this and that, but I feel like, at least I try, I don't know if I do a perfect job, but I feel like I try to justify that sociologically in an appropriate context. To reiterate, so that everyone knows exactly what I mean, when I say they're evil, what I mean is their desired outcome is something that is axiomatically considered immoral to us. So that is to say, it's not like we both want the country to be better than it is now, and we have different like ways of wanting to achieve that, or different understandings of the world, or whatever else. It is that there are people out there whose axiomatic drives, their fundamental beliefs, the moral centers that they're trying to drive towards, involve your death or destruction. It's not all that uncommon, frankly. If you take a look at, as Three Arrows points out, the Crusades, you will find plenty of historical examples where the issue at hand here is not they haven't realized there's a way to work together. There was nothing you could have said to a crusading knight near Jerusalem in like 1400 or whatever that would have made him realize that it's unethical to kill like Muslims or whatever. Yeah, well, you know, maybe you could have. Tough sell, though. Tough sell. Anyway, for a lot of these Republicans, I think one of their main moral drives is an ousting of degeneracy and a return to traditionalism. And there is simply, at least in their worldview, no traditional America that involves drag queens and trans kids or whatever else, you know. That world they want is a world where those things can't exist. Mutual tolerance isn't on the table there, you know. You can convince them that it's not psychologically harmful to do this or that. You've seen me have these arguments. Has that ever convinced them? Do they even seem to care what the world or evidence states about it? Do they ever seem to give a shit whether or not evidence says it's harmful to do this or to that? It really seems like their driving beliefs are more fundamental than that. And that's what I mean when I say they're evil. Their drives and their goals are irreconcilable with ours. Of course, I'm a moral anti-realist, so technically, you know, I don't believe that ours are any more inherently right than theirs, though I do believe ours tend to be exhibited in a more consistent way, and they certainly seem to be more authentically reflective of what people seem to like, generally, as an aggregate. But, you know, moral anti-realism, what are you going to do? I love being subjectively right. Yeah, anyway, I just want to point that out. Of course, none of this is mutually exclusive to knowing why people act that way. I think it's critically important to understand what factors might lead a person to develop those axiomatic beliefs. And keep in mind that people's axiomatic beliefs can change. In the chat right now, raise your hand if you used to believe what I just described, a desire to return to traditionalism and purge degeneracy from this country. But as you grew older or something happened or changed, you realized that these were actually fucking bonkers desires. Yeah, people can change. Anyone can change about anything. Just keep those things in mind. What's the difference between moral anti-realism and moral relativism? Okay, the difference is that the former is based and the latter is cringe. Moral relativism is the belief that actions are good or bad depending on the cultural context in which they're applied. So an example of this would be that homophobia might be morally wrong here in the West, but in Saudi Arabia, homophobia is morally correct, because in Saudi Arabia, they culturally value that more than we do. Obviously, this is fucking bonkers, and if you think about it for like 3 seconds, it really obviously falls apart. Moral relativism is basically like you judge the moral worth of behavior based on what is acceptable in these cultures, but again, it's insane. You know, that's what people refer to. There are different types of moral relativism, though. There is historical moral relativism, and it gets used in a few ways, but that's generally what people mean. Moral anti-realism is just the belief that correct moral positions don't exist in the universe. There is not an epistemically, objectively correct set of moral positions. Rather, you develop and hold subjectively things that you desire, and then things can be objectively good in the context of that. So, for instance, I don't believe it's objectively true that it's good for humans to be happy. But if you subjectively believe it's good for humans to be happy, there are things that are objectively good towards that end. Does that make sense? So the axioms, the first principles, the properly basic beliefs, those are subjective. They're just a product of your emotional biases. You choose those, whether you know them or not. But you can make objective arguments in the context of those. I'm not a moral philosopher. That is my understanding of the two concepts. Also remember, when stuff like this happens, it is a political decision. Our country is unfathomably wealthy. If there are people who are cramped together in tiny facilities with tattered blankets and rotten food, it is because that is what we chose to give them. You know, there are no accidents here. It's the same with prisoners. You know, prisoners in America, many of them have their cafeteria food subcontracted out to the lowest bidder, and these people will get maggots in their meals. You know, these prisoners, and like this is a choice. We do this deliberately, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, a form of torture. You know, these may not be death camps, but the suffering of the people in these camps is a deliberate and intended product of their design. The only thing to which I'm sympathetic is the cramped space, because we do get a lot of undocumented immigrants from our southern border, and it is difficult to build facilities to accommodate all of them during the temporary, vetting process, the whole 9 yards. I am sympathetic to this and this only, though more could be done there as well. But the blankets and the food is something for which there is absolutely no excuse. Republicans will say, like, don't politicize school shootings or whatever. They want to deny you the rhetorical and historical tools necessary to understand where they're coming from. Because a historical understanding of the rise of Nazi Germany is one which immediately and directly condemns the Republican Party. So they don't want you to be able to make those comparisons. This is one of the reasons why I adamantly insist on making at least 18 Nazi comparisons every single day. You know? When they, listen, okay? When they said, never again, I listened. I'm keeping the torch alight over here. 100%. Me at the ice cream shop, when I ask for 2 scoops, and I get, at best, 1.5, you know, Hitler-esque. I twirl the cone. I twirl the cone in my hand, and I remember Hitler's bunker being stormed. You know. Alright. You know who else drank water? God damn it. Fuck, it's warm in here. Holy shit, it's like 90 degrees.